welcome back to my channel. So today I'm just gonna go ahead and just do my makeup and do a voiceover of the stories because my makeup really kind of takes me a long time, and I didn't want to have to do my makeup and then do a story or do stories. So I just wrapped it all in one. Um, so don't forget to like the video, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, let's get started.
Okay, guys, so this is my third time trying to record this, so hopefully this time it works out. So I'm going to be telling some scary stories while I do my makeup, and let's hope that this time it actually works. Anyway, this first story says, it's not too terrifying, but it definitely scared the shit out of me when it happened. A bit of a backstory. I've had plenty of encounters before. Nothing too scary, just meeting deceased family coming through and seeing random spirits, so I'm definitely no stranger to ghosts and to the paranormal. Okay, here we go. I was about 11, living in my stepdad's duplex. Anyway, the building is 2 stories tall and the stairs are located roughly in the middle, between the dining room and the lounge room. As you go up the stairs, you reach the landing and it turns a corner and doubles back on itself to reach the second story. When you reach the second floor, you look straight into my room. These stairs were creepy enough as it is. Steps creaking as if someone was walking up and down them when no one was. I'm getting off track here. The encounter. That's right. One afternoon, after school, I was walking upstairs to put my bag away and get out of my uniform. As I reach the second to last step at the top, I get that feeling. You know, that feeling when it's cold, but not cold, and your hair stand up on its end? Yeah, that feeling. I look into my room and I see a young girl, maybe 4 or 5, under my bed, peeking out and looking dead at me, terrified. Me, being the stupid kid I was, just thought maybe it was one of my sister's friends. So I went into my room, looked under the bed, and she was gone. Here's when panic set in and I started freaking out. I felt something behind me and turned around. There, standing in the doorway, or more like floating, was a massive black shadow, and still, to this day, after many other encounters, I have never felt pure terror and evil. Suddenly, it rushed at me, and all I remember is waking up to my mom over me, asking if I was alright. I didn't tell her what happened because whenever I told my mom about shit that happened to me, she somehow made it about herself. Anyway, that's another story. I never dealt I never learned what the hell the shadow was or who the little girl was. Hopefully that wasn't too long or boring for you to read. Um, they also said a lot of spooky shit happened in that place. I don't know what it was, but when I was younger, I just seemed to attract spirits and other negative entities. There was this guy who was friends with my older brother, and he was over a lot, even when my brother moved out, and they stopped being friends. I distinctly remember one evening when he was leaving, my stepdad and mom were saying goodbye to him out the front, and I was looking out the window at them, and his face seemed to morph into a face that I haven't seen before. It was getting dark, but I could clearly see his face had changed. It wasn't something I could recognize. I can't explain what it looked like exactly. All I could tell was it was evil and staring at me. I just went straight the fuck upstairs and never spoke to anyone about it, and was never comfortable when he was over. So this next story says, my grandmother gave me a porcelain doll when I was younger, and I was always scared of it, but I kept it because she had died not long after. For some backstory, At the house I lived at when she passed away, a lot of scary things happened. For example, I had the worst nightmares I've ever had in my life, and my mom felt a hand on her back when talking about someone who had died. Pictures flying off of walls, lights exploding were a regular occurrence. So, the scariest thing, in my bedroom, I could sit on my windowsill and talk to my neighbor, a girl my age, while she was in her garden. I kept this doll in my wardrobe, at the bottom, laying in a box with shoes on top of it. For reference, it was about 3 feet tall. Anyway, I'm talking to my friend and I look over and the doll is sitting outside of the wardrobe, facing me. I'm absolutely terrified, so I run to my door, which is the opposite of the wardrobe, and I look back at the doll, stupidly, and it has turned around and is now facing the door where I am. I got rid of the doll not long after. Nope. That is some horror story shit right there. So this next story says, just a bit of a backstory. I've seen and heard things since being 3 years old. My first experience was seeing these humanoid hound people with charred flesh at the top of the stairs. It was the night my brother was scalded with boiling water. He still has a thick white scar down his shoulder to this day. Anyway, back when I was too young to fully be scared, I was more curious by those figures and uncomfortable to go upstairs again. My worst experience was in my second house. I was in my early 20s. Me and my friend were drinking wine and doing the Ouija board. We weren't taking it seriously. We were asking provocative questions and basically being drunk dicks. It was a bit fun listening to music, talking about weird shit like we always did. But we lost track of time and my friend had to go home. I remember feeling fine, a bit tipsy, but fine. I went to get a snack and noticed that she left the Ouija board. I put a lid on the box and put it under my bed because I didn't want my kids to find it. That is, when everything changed so terribly. At first, it started off as random scratching in the walls or footsteps. Then, it progressed to whispering right by my ear and light touches to my hair, my neck, my back. I tried to ignore it, but it just kept getting worse and worse. The first time I truly felt scared by it was when I heard a child call, "Mommy, help," from the living room. My hairs fucking stood on end and I could hardly breathe. I was still for a few minutes because I was terrified, and then I heard this horrid, low, guttural laugh. It echoed around the room and it scared me so much. I cried a bit. After that, it just progressed into hell for my kids and me. It started to walk around my room at night, its claws catching in the carpet. It always came close to my face. I could feel it right next to me. The next day, I woke up with scratches on my back and my face. It started to fuck with me mentally, moving things in front of my eyes, distorting things. I think it wanted me to question my own insanity and ultimately break me. Then, my kids started hearing it. They used to cry out to me and tell me they could hear someone with sharp claws walking around my bedroom. Other times, they'd hear deep voices or laughing, screaming. One time it was screaming in my bedroom, so I grabbed the boys and ran downstairs. It started to follow us down the wall, scratching and laughing. After the kids refused to sleep upstairs and we all slept in the living room together. I moved out about a year after it started. Money was really tight and I had no choice. As soon as we moved out, everything felt so different. Our new house was just a house. I felt lighter and all the rooms in the new house felt lighter. My boys were so happy to leave that place, and so was I. But I know that thing is still in that house, and I feel so guilty about whoever moved in after us. Yeah, this story seemed more demonic, and I'm betting it was because they were playing the Ouija board. This next story says, I have lived in 4 haunted houses of varying levels from toddler to teen, but these experiences are ones told by my mom that happened when we lived in our second haunted house. Just for background, the women in my family and one of my brothers are all sensitive to weird paranormal crap. This house was hundreds of years old and on a British boarding school ground. My parents had all sorts of weird things happen there. They would have items disappear for periods of time and just appear out of nowhere. Keys just appear in the room from midair. Our kitten was kicked across the living room floor by unseen force. But the most common occurrence was whenever we were put to bed. There were 5 kids altogether. My parents would hear running around upstairs and on the spiral staircase. Whenever they would check, we were fast asleep. I also used to have visions of these twin children in this house. Now, the most terrifying things happened to my mom in her bedroom. One evening, she was laying in bed and a huge ball of light appeared above her bed. Out of the light, she saw a huge hand trying to reach for her. She legged it out of the room. Second most terrifying thing was when my youngest brother was around 8 months old and was just learning to come up to a crawling position. He had a beautiful traditional rocking crib with lace canopy, so my mom was able to look through the bars at him. As my mom was watching him practice coming up on his hands and knees, he was suddenly pushed down into his crib mattress. My mom was frozen to the spot and watched as he came up and again forced down roughly to the mattress. She grabbed him and fled the room. I think it took her a long time to ever relax in that room again. We were later told by the previous tenants that they believed the house was haunted by children. Despite these things that would happen there, my mom has always said it was her favorite place where we ever lived. This next story says, not sure how much of this fits here, as yes, the house I've grown up in has had its fair share of hauntings or whatever, but also things latched onto me and my little brother. I was the one that had the most dark creatures latched to me for a couple of years, with there being up to 6 at one time, whereas my little brother only got 1 for a brief period. Honestly, for me, I never had any personal problems with them. In fact, I became very comfortable with them. I never had problems with the dark, night, but during this time I began to prefer it and honestly feel safe with them. But I will say it was mildly annoying when things would disappear or be moved all their own, doors opening and closing with the force of someone who was mad but without anyone in the house actually doing it. Footsteps up and down the hall when everyone was asleep, and disembodied voices in a language I still have yet to ever hear again. The house's average temp always plummeted during the night, as that was when those things would come out into my room. They would also follow me around during the day from a fair distance at first. This was actually how I first came into contact with them. They'd gradually watch me closer and closer until they'd get into my house. And once they got in, I don't remember them being outside it again. This went on for years until my mom got fed up with getting random bruises all over her and the sinister air within the house during the night, so she cleansed it as well as me and my sleep one night. I never saw my friends again after that, and I didn't learn that she did that until years later when I brought it up of the weird things that I remembered. She told me about the thing that attached itself to my little brother and what made her do it. She never knew about the things that latched on to me and never knew the things she dealt with or the thing latched to my brother until she told me that day. Years later, with nothing happening, when I tried to move out on my own, after a couple of months, this shadow appeared in a giant window next to my door, and it constantly knocked on my window, and there wasn't ever anything physical on the other side. When I ended up having to move back, I'm staying out in the garage now. It was split down the middle, and one of those halves was converted into two rooms, one a bedroom and one a storage room. And I'll occasionally get shuffling footsteps outside my door, the sound of someone punching the big metal garage door, and there has been one incident so far where I heard the shuffling walking, and then all the dogs in my house started barking. Now, my mom's dog barks at everything, but I heard my dog barking, which is rare nowadays, so I knew it was weird. So I checked it out and found nobody in the garage or the house. So I went back into my room, and as soon as I sit, I feel like I was being watched. So I stared at the door in confusion, and I also got a mirror I could see the door in from where I was sitting. And after a minute, the mirror door swung open, but my actual door didn't. And in the mirror, a big thin shadow hand grabbed the door behind and stayed there for a while before it slammed that door shut. And my real door swung open. I never found anything, and something like that has yet to happen again. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish off with this story. It says, my grandma's house is definitely haunted by multiple spirits, and some spilled over into my house next door. We would hear unexplainable voices, screams, or sounds. Things would move in front of us, items would disappear and reappear. My siblings saw shadow people in their room, and I would feel things touch me or tug at my clothes. I was sleeping in my grandma's house one night, and I felt something grab my leg and pull me. When I sat up, it stopped, but I was halfway off the mattress, and it really scared me. The next night, I saw the reflection of a blue light behind me. I couldn't move until it disappeared, but I don't think the light was a bad spirit. A few months later, I was in my room on my bed and talking on the phone with my boyfriend. I see the shadow ball move across the floor from my door to my window. The curtains moved when it hit them. I was terrified. That was the last thing I saw. Since I moved out, I haven't seen much activity. Okay, good thing that one was short. And this is my look. Hope you guys like it. Thank you for watching my video.
Alright guys, if you liked it, hit the like button, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!